Don't forget, 1 hour from right now, Bob Thompson, former president at Fox Sports, will join us. But until then, let's give in to our urges and talk Utah Jazz basketball and NBA hoops. Because one of the big questions about the Utah Jazz is, what should they do with Donovan Mitchell? And are the Utah Jazz done with trade talks on Don? I would tell you that the Utah Jazz are not done talking trades with Donovan Mitchell. And sources have told us, really pretty much all summer long, the Jazz are not intent on trading Donovan Mitchell. But when the Knicks call with 6 draft picks and 4 players, they've got to listen to that. But here's a question, and it's a good one, and it's an important one. Are the Utah Jazz better off hanging on to Donovan Mitchell until the summer of 2023 at a minimum? Because a year from now, you have big names coming onto the free agent market, guys like LeBron James, guys like Kyrie, guys like James Harden. You have a situation in Golden State where Golden State's going to have to pay Draymond Green. They're going to have to pay Andrew Wiggins. They're going to have to pay Jordan Poole. There's going to be a lot of movement in the summer of 2023. So, Jake, are the Utah Jazz better off waiting one more season to trade Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some pretty serious reason and logic in it. But one thing I have an issue with is this concept that they're just 1,000% going to trade Donovan Mitchell. Like, the assumption I feel like right now is that Donovan's gone and he'll never wear the note again. Like, that's what I feel like the assumption is. People just think that, like, it's over. Like, he's gone, we're never going to see Donovan again. And that's just not the case in my opinion. I think that the chances of Donovan coming back are actually pretty good. I as I've been saying, my opinion has always been that they intend on building around Donovan Mitchell, but if they get an offer that's too good to refuse, then they'll take that offer, and so that's where the Knicks have kind of come in with all of these, all of these packages that we've been discussing over the last several weeks. So this thing about waiting a year, to me, waiting a year is not just about all the movement that's going to happen, because there will be a lot of movement, as he was just saying. But I also think waiting a year gives you the opportunity to see what Donovan Mitchell can truly be when he's given space and given the opportunity that other top-tier players in the league are given. And what I mean by that is put him next to more athletic guys. Put him next to guys that the defense has to respect. Put him next to people who can actually contribute on an individual level. And that's why I think waiting a year could really be beneficial. Because what happens if Donovan Mitchell comes out, and he's not going to score 30 every single night, but let's say that he bumps his point per game average by 3 points this season. He goes from 25.5 to 28 points a night. Let's say that the assists go up by 2 a game, right? He has a career year. He's dominating for you. Does that mean that you're going to keep him or you're going to trade him? Well, I don't know, but what it definitely means is that his trade value just went up, or that what you're asking for was just legitimized even more. So I think, waiting a year, there's a lot of logic in it, not just from the movement in the league, but also from upping his value, because I think everyone can agree he's going to have a big year.
Yeah, I think if you've been paying attention to Donovan Mitchell over the summer and you're watching what he's doing, I mean, Donovan Mitchell is in fantastic shape. He looks great. You've seen him working on that mid-range game. You've seen him in the Black Ops runs with Chris Brickley's guys. Like, you've seen Donovan Mitchell looking really, really good, working out a ton. Like, Donovan Mitchell is in position, in my opinion, to have a 30-point-per-game average the first 6 months of this season. I mean, when you look at the shape that he is in the game that he is going to bring back to the floor, there's no reason to think that he cannot evolve into a 30-point-per-night player. The question's always going to be his defense. But, I think there's real value in waiting to see what Donovan's value becomes next summer, because you look at the guys that are available in free agency this coming a year from now, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving. You look at the situation in Golden State with Dre, with Wiggins, with Jordan Poole. They're not going to pay $400 million.
They would be the first team to ever do that.
I mean, the luxury tax alone at $400 million would choke a horse.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You just cannot do that.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be significantly more movement coming at this trade deadline and into next offseason. I think there is going to be exponentially more player movement, and that means that you're going to have a lot more opportunity. You look at how frozen the NBA trade and free agent market has been the last 6 weeks. I just don't think you're going to get maximum value for a guy that could well average 30 points a game.
Yeah.
And so it makes a lot more sense, in my opinion, Jake, to hang on and trade Donovan Mitchell next summer. When you see the free agent market, I mean, your 2023 free agents, Harden, Kyrie, LeBron James, among others, that right there is enough to cause competition in the marketplace, which is going to open up other people's pocketbooks and rosters.
Let me ask you this. A lot of Jazz fans will say, well, that's all great. That's all fine and dandy that there's going to be a lot of free agent movement, but we're a smaller market. So we're going to have trouble getting, those guys you just mentioned, the Hardens, the KDs, the LeBrons. Sure. So do you feel like that ruins this concept of waiting a year?
I don't think it does. I think when you look at the Utah Jazz, and again, we talk about this all the time, the Utah Jazz are not the team that's going to go out and sign this huge free agent, right? I mean, their best business is going out and making trades. And the reason that those free agents matter so much, that when you look at Kyrie, LeBron, James Harden, just to name a few, and you look at the availability of guys like Jordan Poole and Draymond Green, I mean, the reason they matter so much to the Utah Jazz is very simple. It creates opportunities in the marketplace. It's not that you want to sign James Harden or Kyrie or LeBron. It's that you need other teams to sign those guys, and you need those other teams to create movement on their roster so that they can sign those guys, so you can acquire guys via trade, so that you can acquire guys in second-tier free agency, so that you can acquire more draft assets to go out and make better trades,
right,
to position your roster. It allows you to retool and rebuild this team much more quickly than you would traditionally, because it's very rare that you have this caliber of talent available on the market in the NBA. And you look at what's going on with Kevin Durant, and you look at what's going on with the Nets. Joe Tsai and Kevin Durant are supposedly going to meet this week. And if that happens, there's a real good chance, in my opinion, that Kevin Durant winds up staying in Brooklyn. And you look at this coming trade deadline, you're going to have Kyrie Irving, who we know is not in good standing with the Nets. You can't tell me that they've found a way to mend that fence.
Yeah.
He's likely going to get traded. And whether that's now or whether that's at the trade deadline, whether that's next offseason when he's a free agent, don't forget, who's the team that'll be able to pay Kyrie Irving the most money? Well, it'll be the Brooklyn Nets. That's a sign-and-trade deal waiting to happen. You look at that situation, you look at some of the guys who have signed deals, the Utah Jazz should be open for business, and I think they are. I again maintain that even if it's not Donovan Mitchell, you can't tell me they're bringing Bojan Bogdanovic back to the club for training camp. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that they're not entertaining conversations on Patrick Beverley. I think, frankly, the guy that's got the most value on this roster is probably one of the two guys you acquired from Minnesota in Malik Beasley or Jared Vanderbilt. And I just don't see that the Jazz have much of an appetite to trade Jared Vanderbilt. I don't see that Mike Conley has any real value in the marketplace at all. So again, I go back to the question, are the Jazz better waiting for a more, what's the right way to say it, a stronger equity position than they're in now? Because your only real marketable trade chip is Donovan Mitchell, and that's a guy, Jake, that I don't think they're intent on trading.
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing. I just am not huge on trading Donovan Mitchell. I still believe in him. I still think that there's a lot of growth there. I think that nobody in this market or nationally, I haven't heard anybody, literally not a soul besides us, talk about the fact that he's coming into a new offense. The fact that, Will Hardy's going to be running a fast-paced, quick-moving offense. Why is nobody talking about this? Donovan Mitchell has been in an offense where he is surrounded by guys who are not athletic. He's surrounded by guys in like Rudy Gobert who are limited offensively. Put Donovan Mitchell on the Boston Celtics. Put Donovan Mitchell on the Phoenix Suns. Swap Book and Donovan Mitchell. You're telling me that Donovan Mitchell's not going to go and put up 30? You can honestly say in your heart of hearts that he wouldn't put up 30 in the Phoenix Suns offense. Come on, man. Come on.
I think he would.
And that's why I say, like, waiting a year, there's a lot of logic, but I also think we can't undersell the fact that what happens if Donovan blossoms into a bona fide, grade A, like, no doubt about it, superstar? What happens if he takes the same path that Book took? Now, all of a sudden, I don't think you're willing to trade him. Now I think he is the guy. And that's what I think that this window in time right now, that's why I think Donovan's working hard. That's why I think Donovan's been in the gym, getting that mid-range game on lock. Because Donovan knows that it's now or never. You're going to get it done now, or you're going to be a mediocre to slightly above average starter in the league.
Yeah, and I don't think it's that far. It's interesting. One of your tweets yesterday, and you should definitely follow Jake. You should. I don't know that you should. I mean, you're taking your life in your own hands if you follow Jake on Twitter.
Follow me, bro.
Supercars, SLC Supercars on Twitter. But you should definitely follow me, The Monty Show, MONTY.
Right.
The Monty Show is this hour of the show is brought to you by Barbecue Pit Stop. You should definitely follow them on Twitter and Instagram at BBQ Pit Stop. But talking about the Utah Jazz and waiting, it's funny. You tweeted a thing from Bleacher Report that talked about power rankings by position. Power ranking!
Power! Because again, you can't say power rankings.
Blase. No,
Blase.
you can't.
Power!
But it's interesting that Donovan Mitchell, according to Bleacher Report, at shooting guard, they rank the top 3 as Devin Booker.
Hey, bud.
That's my guy. What's up, daddy? Devin Booker, Paul George, number 2, and Donovan Mitchell, number 3.
At shooting guard.
Do you like that?
I do like it. I think that's some pretty major shade at Paul George, with all due respect to Devin Booker. I think that I would rather have Paul George. I think he's a superior defender.
I will slap you.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. But the fact is Paul George is a stopper, bro.
You do not talk about a Kardashian in that light.
Let's not forget what Paul George did to Mike Conley when they matched up. I haven't forgotten about that. But anyway, the point is
you do not Paul George or Devin Booker.
Paul George.
Devin Booker.
Okay, go with Devin Booker. Fine, great. I'm telling you that Paul George is a superior defender to
Devin Booker.
Anybody on that list.
Devin Booker.
Okay, well.
Who's better looking? Anyway.
I don't comment on that.
Paul George over Devin Booker, and I think it's because, Paul George is a lock defender, even though Joe Ingles is in his head.
Right, right.
Remember that whole
narrative. Right, please.
But, yeah,
please.
I take Paul George. But this is why I say, and I know everybody tried to kick my ass over this, but I'm telling you, Donovan Mitchell is not that far away from a top 5 player in this league.
Yeah.
I am telling you now that Donovan Mitchell, if he comes back and he's got a defensive game and he is an absolute assassin in the mid-range, he's a top 5 player in this league.
Yeah.
If he averages 30 points and he plays defense, he's a top 5 player in this league. He's being talked about with names like Paul George, Devin Booker. You look at his game, and he does not have that far to jump. He has got to be a better defender, Donovan Mitchell. That's the thing that I think stands alone. Speaking of slap you in the face, Austin Garrett says, just a reminder, maple bars are delicious.
They are. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Zaman says, cougar tails are for sure delicious as long as they've showered first. See what he did.
See what he did there. Cougar tails like the donut, but then cougar like Zach mom's friend.
No, Zach mom friend. Zach's mom's best friend.
Right.
Yes.
Let's get that right, okay? Jerk. Anyway, Eric in Raleigh makes the foolish statement that, quote, I want Klay Thompson as my shooting guard. Do you even watch Warrior games, bro? I'm taking Devin Booker and Paul George over Klay Thompson.
I think Klay Thompson still has proving to do. I think Klay did a hell of a job getting back and contributing, but I think he's got proving to do. Right now today, I have to agree. I think 6 months into the season, let's see where Klay Thompson is.
Yep. Let's see. K. Nurin says Danny will not trade just to trade. Only if he wins, the Jazz win. Totally would agree with that. Matt says, love the show, guys. The Pac-12 president seems to be in delusion. There is only going to be 2 spots available in the Big 12. Oregon is not going to sign their grant of rights long-term with the Pac-12. I think that's a huge question.
Man. Yeah.
I think that's exactly right.
Yep.
Eric in Raleigh says, put Donovan in a non-toxic locker room.
Yeah. You see what I mean? Like, put Donovan in a better position.
Yes.
In frankly, in the position that guys on that list, the Books, the PG-13s, the Jason Tatums, put him in the same position those guys are in and watch what happens. And by the way, I have no problem saying it. If Donovan gets into that kind of position and fails, great. That's what sports is about. You have to give them the opportunity,
yes,
and you either sink or you swim. It's just that simple.
Well, I think you also look at what happened in that locker room last year, and I think it really hurt the team. Don't forget, 45 minutes from right now, Bob Thompson, former president of Fox Sports, joins us to talk about what is clearly, I think, the biggest story in sports today, and that is that the exclusive negotiating window for the Pac-12 expires today with Fox Sports and ESPN. Bob Thompson, former president of Fox Sports, joins us at 8:30 Mountain Time to talk college football and what's going to happen in the Big 12 and the Pac-12, so stick around for that. But right now we are talking NBA hoops and Utah Jazz. And by the way, a lot of people asking about the latest on Donovan Mitchell and the Knicks. There isn't a latest. From what I understand, they have touched base occasionally over the last 2 weeks. There have not been real substantive talks over the last 2 weeks. We'll see if that changes. And I still maintain that the most likely guy on this roster to get traded is Patrick Beverley. And I think they can't do that till the end of the month. But I think this lingers awfully close to training camp.
Mm-hmm.
This lingers awfully close to training camp. By the way, let's talk about the Golden State Warriors real quick, because I'm curious, of Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, and Jordan Poole, who do you value most in that situation?
Jordan Poole. To me, it's Jordan Poole. I
think it's Wiggs. Well, I think Andrew Wiggins has taken a huge step.
I think Wiggs did it for 1 year. I think that there is doubt.
Has Jordan Poole done it for even a year?
No, but I think Jordan Poole has shown you enough that at his age, he's shown you enough that you want to invest in him long term. He has the size. He has the body. He has the game. Obviously he needs to kind of reel in some of those threes that he takes. He's got to reel a game in and refine a little bit. But to me, Jordan Poole is the guy I would go with. I think Wiggins is a hell of a player. I think he had a career year. And my only questions with Wiggins is, hey, like, if you pay this guy, are you paying a guy huge money to then disappoint you for the next couple of seasons? Was it just a one-off year? Or is this kind of where he's at? And I think the other factor to that is, hey, if you put him next to Steph, the odds of him having another great year are probably pretty good, So I think Wiggins re-signing Wiggins is I would say medium risk. I don't think it's high risk. I certainly don't think it's low risk. I think it's medium risk. I think Wiggins just hasn't been a consistent player, but it's funny how that works. You put him next to a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all time, the best shooter the league's ever seen, and all of a sudden he's playing better basketball. So that's why I say, like, I think in order, if you're asking me what the totem pole is, priority pole for re-signing these guys, to me it's Poole, Wiggins, and then Draymond. I think, unfortunately, Draymond is somebody who his game is predicated on his ability to defend at all three levels. And as you get older, you lose some athleticism. You lose that step you had. So I think he's a guy that his value is going to diminish in several years if you sign him long term.
I don't see how any team can pay $400 million in salary.
Well, if there was a team, it would be the Warriors. Like, I wouldn't, but if there was a team, it would be them.
Well, with the new building and the championships and the
you've got bread.
And,
it's really more of a conversation of if you're willing to.
And
or
you
not.
got deep bread. I agree with that, but I think as Joe Tsai, the owner of the Brooklyn Nets, has learned, that doesn't always equate to winning. But I think culturally speaking, you have the best culture in the NBA. I think certainly you have the best coach in the NBA right now.
Yeah.
I think you have the best shooters in the history of the NBA. It's just a matter of, when does the core of this Golden State Warrior team get broken up? Because I also think signing Draymond Green to a $36 million a year deal, especially giving him 4 years with a fifth-year option, that's
rough.
That's not something I think I have the tolerance for. So I know they're very good. That's the same thing I say about the Phoenix Suns. At what point does Bob Sarver get blown up as the owner there? And if he doesn't get blown up, how long are – because right now there's questions around the NBA. I can tell you, I talked to a source the other day who said it. They are not sure that there's a willingness for players to go there and play for him.
Yeah.
And it's
unless you're Kevin Durant.
It's something that is interesting. And but they have been able to get that deal done. And I think Chris Paul's not the same player he was last season or 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
And by the way, they've gotten just there but not close enough, and then they didn't get there this year. And you don't generally get to the NBA Finals, lose in the finals, and then get back and win a championship. That's how that happens. You don't get to the finals, lose, come back, don't get to the finals, lose.
And not just that you didn't get to the finals, you got like embarrassed out of the playoffs, dude.
You got torched by the Mavericks. I mean,
embarrassing.
I think there's a lot of questions about the quality of the Phoenix Suns.
And that's why I say,
season.
like, this whole thing about, hey, wait a year, I think that's really interesting because while Book is on a long-term extension and I think he's got $193 million left or whatever, like he just started that deal, that doesn't mean he can't move. Like, I hope everyone understands that. That does not mean it's more difficult. Yes, it is more difficult. Absolutely.
$50 million a year.
But that doesn't mean it can't be done. And that's why I'm saying, waiting a year, if you're the Jazz, these are the kind of situations that you could potentially, get involved in.
But the other problem that you have to remember that the Suns have is that they're now paying Deandre Ayton a crap load of money.
Yeah.
And you're paying a guy that's a problem for you. Because let's not kid ourselves. Let's not pull any punches. Deandre Ayton's a problem for the Phoenix Suns. I mean, coach and player relationship is not great. I don't think his teammates fully believe in DeAndre Ayton in the biggest moments. And DeAndre Ayton's soft, mentally and physically. DeAndre Ayton is soft. And I think that you did the right thing in matching because you couldn't let him walk away for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But you should have traded him. Yeah. And you can't tell me that this just cropped its ugly head in the playoffs last year because 2 years ago in the finals run, you knew this was a problem and you didn't do anything about it. And my feeling is that DeAndre Ayton's gonna drag on you for a while.
But it feels like it kind of came to a head in the playoffs. It feels like, like what you were saying, like it's been building, it's been sort of festering, if you will. And that whole thing where you benched him in the middle of a finals run, it feels like that was an issue. It feels like, hey, maybe they could have handled that a little better. And maybe that's part of it because, obviously you can't let him walk for free, or for nothing rather. But maybe that's part of what the Suns are going through. Maybe they didn't handle it well either. I think it's a double-sided thing. But I don't know, man. DeAndre Ayton's got to get better at catching the ball in tight quarters. He's got to get better at dunking on people instead of laying it up. You got to get meaner. You got to get tougher, and that's hard to teach.
The funny thing is, we're back on this thing where people want to DM me during the show.
Oh, God.
And
vanishing mode.
If you DM me during the show, I don't read it. And I generally don't. I get a lot of DMs on Twitter especially.
Mm-hmm.
But if you send me a DM during the show, man, the only reason I'm reading it is because I had a lot of notifications and my phone was telling me, hey, jerk, look at your notifications.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
You guys, comment. Like, I'm not going to read your DMs during the show. I'm not doing it. Okay. Big Dog O-Town says, yo, Jake, knowledgeable basketball fans know exactly what you're saying. Emotional ones are too much in your feelings to grasp what you're spitting.
Shout to Mo Bamba.
By the way, Big Dog, did you see Mo Bamba working out? Video going around Instagram?
Mo Bamba?
Yeah, dude's in shape. Just saying.
Mo Bamba?
Shout to Mo Bamba.
Mo Bamba?
Mo Bamba.
Austin Garrett says, also, I'm a fairly new listener. What have y'all been saying about Alex Caruso? Well, Jeremy Bolton, our known Alex Caruso hater. I happen to be a big fan of Alex Caruso. I'm a big fan of Alex Caruso. Seriously, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. I love his game.
Well, you've been following him since Laker days.
Yeah, I love his game in L.A. Yeah. I think there's no doubt the Lakers missed him last year. I think he is one of the true glue guys in the NBA. I think he is a great topper on any championship caliber team.
Yeah.
And I think that I would love him either on, I'm a Bulls fan. I want the Bulls to build. I want the Bulls to add. I'm glad they didn't make the Rudy Gobert trade because I want to see what Patrick Williams can do. I want to see what another year of DeMar and another year of Zach together.
Mm-hmm. More DeMar, less Zach, though.
Well, they can play that. That's a team that needs to learn to play at all three levels.
Yeah. So
we'll see. And are they better defensively? I don't know. We'll see.
But this Caruso junk with getting hurt and like all the dirty plays that he had to endure and like that's why I like Caruso because I feel like when oh my God, what's dude's name? The Grayson Allen. When Grayson Allen did Grayson Allening things. To Alex Caruso, I just was like, damn, man, that was rough. And then to have Alex come back and like do what he did and really be a contributor, he's a work hard guy, and that's why I like him. He's certainly not some superstar in the league or anything, but I respect guys who know their limitations, know their game and how to play inside of it, and, lay it all on the line for their team. And I think that's what he does. Absolutely.
Well, and I think the thing with the Bulls that you have to remember is you have a mix of veterans and young guys. I mean, Ayo Dosunmu is a guy that's got to grow and improve. But when you also look at what guys like Caruso bring, I mean, they have a lot of that caliber player. That's why I think Pat Williams and Ayo Dosunmu are two really huge figures on that roster. They've got to grow and expand. They've got to become more consistent, better contributors, both offensively and defensively. And there's a big unknown about Patrick Williams' game and what the ceiling or the scope of his game is. That's a huge question for me. So it'll be interesting to see exactly where the Bulls go. But I love Alex Caruso, in all seriousness. DJ Lopez says the Timberwolves are going to be Eastern Conference champions, Jake.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. All knowledgeable basketball fans know that's the case.
Neil Wilson.
Okay, you're forever known as Wilson now.
Is your middle name Wilson too? Wilson! Did you see Tony Jones' article on how the Knicks are lowballing the Jazz with their offer? I did not see that.
I did not see that, but that is the case. I mean, that's what I've been saying. They want a discount.
I think we've reported on this show for a while now that the Knicks were willing to part with four first-round picks, and 2 players, and they, as well as a veteran. And I think that they would have parted with quickly. I don't think that they wanted to part with McBride or Grimes.
Yeah.
And I think they would have parted with quickly Toppin and Cam Reddish and 4 first-round picks, and Danny Ainge didn't want that. Danny Ainge wants all you got.
Yep.
I think Danny Ainge would do this deal for 6 picks for quickly Grimes, McBride, and Toppin with Cam Reddish. I think he'd do that deal right now today. I don't think the Knicks will even talk about that deal. And it's very interesting, the debate that's gone on about the Knicks and the Jazz is who needs the deal more, who's actually got leverage. I don't know that one team has more leverage than the other, but what I do know from talking to people at the Jazz is they're not intent on trading Donovan Mitchell. They're not out there like, man, we got to find a team to take Donovan. That's not where the Jazz are at. And I can tell you repeatedly, I have been told by sources at the Utah Jazz that if they can get a deal that blows them away, they will trade Donovan Mitchell. If they cannot get a deal that blows them away, they will not trade Donovan Mitchell.
No, I guess not.
Again, I will say the same thing that we have said on this show for 4 to 6 weeks, certainly since the Gobert trade went down, certainly since the strong rumors of Donovan Mitchell being traded to the Knicks. Who else can do it? Nobody else can do it. Now, there's this idea that the Heat, there's a lot of people out there that believe Donovan Mitchell would like to go to Miami.
I'm sure he would.
I'm sure he would. The Heat can't even get in the conversation.
Congratulations, but that's bullshit.
We have had Jake on this show. I think you would agree. We've had long debates about Tyler Hero's upside, and is he a guy? No. I can tell you right now, the Jazz have told me point blank there is zero interest in Tyler Hero.
Listen, the Jazz are not in a position to just do any deal as far as Donovan's concerned. Like, not that you would just take anything, but like if you look at the Boston Celtics, the Los Angeles Lakers, your nameplate teams. Those are teams that have an appetite to move on from players a little bit easier because they know they're always going to be in the cycle. They know that they're always going to have talent, and they're always it's just, hey, it's on to the next deal, right? The Jazz are not in that position. The Utah Jazz are in a position where you have a generational talent in Donovan Mitchell. If you're going to move on from him, it's going to be for something that is an absolute haul. And the problem here that I think people are forgetting that somehow is not being talked about once again is that because you got so much for Rudy Gobert, that's allowing you to ask for a ton more for Donovan Mitchell. Hey, I got this for Rudy. That means I got to get that for Donovan.
Well,
that's what's happening.
You set your trade market.
Yes.
I mean, that's...
Danny Ainge has been in control of the league for a while now, and I've been saying that for about 6 weeks. Since the Gobert deal happened, Danny Ainge wrecked the trade market, and by extension of that, he's in control of what happens because he set values that now he can go out and he can say, okay, we got this for Rudy. That means Joe Tsai and the boys in Brooklyn are asking this. And that's what I think is fascinating about where we are.
Jeremy Bolton.
Yeah.
I will block you. And the next time I see you, I'm snapping that headband. Hey, Austin, I have a few thoughts on Alex Caruso. Do the names Steve Blake, Adam Morrison, or Keith McLeod come to mind?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Jeremy Bolton, I seriously wonder if you've ever seen Alex play just a single game.
The
single
comparison to Steve Blake is disrespectful, bro.
No, the comparison to Adam Morrison and that amazing mustache is disrespectful.
Don't sass me, Burkus.
I will slap the mustache off your lip. Eric C. says, hey, Monty, how about them Padres?
Let's go.
For once, a team that I actually root for won a game.
Real quick, 30 seconds. Did they give up too much for Juan Soto?
Way too much. Way too much. But he did walk and then get a base hit and then, scored a run. All I can say is your favorite player ever, Brandon Drury, hit a grand slam on the very first pitch that motherfucking... Anyway, the first pitch that Brandon Drury saw, he jacked it.
Do you even live?
I mean, he jacked it while the pitch was on the way back, zipped up, and then hit a home run.
What do you bench?
See what I did there? I thought it was a great trade. Cronenworth hits another home run last night. They were up 5-0 after the first inning.
That's pretty much self-explanatory.
I think the NL West is the Dodgers and the Padres, which is exactly what it should be because the San Francisco Giants continue to stomp on people's testicles with just head-scratching personnel decisions.
Okay, so that's how it's going to be.
Okay, let's move on. Tanner Plummer says, if I were the Warriors, I would do whatever it takes to keep Wiggins and Poole. Draymond, I'm not sure if I would keep him. He is getting older, and I don't know how many more years he has, and I am a little reticent to sign him to a max extension.
Hey guys. Especially 5 years or 4 years without an option.
$30 million.
Nah, I'm good.
Let's see. Mardino87, right on topic, says Tony Finau's a millionaire.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Dwayne Boone. Good morning, Dwayne. Who replaces Rudy Gobert for the Jazz? Duh, Rudy Gay. Rudy for Rudy. Rudy on Rudy crime. I don't know. Because I also think Rudy Gay is another guy they're going to move. Because it makes no sense to have Rudy Gay on this team. The answer is I don't know. This roster is an incomplete thing. It is a living being, the roster, and it's incomplete. They will not show up October 1st with this group of players.
But you will see that once things start picking up in the league, the roster is going to be done in like 5 minutes. Like, I guarantee you they have deals in place that they could go and make. That's not even in doubt. I think it's just the way they want to go about it that they're waiting on.
Dwayne Boone makes a really good point, though.
Dwayne?
I wish we had crying or sad music.
Dwayne
Boone says no more, quote, Buckets O'Neal on the Jazz broadcast.
Excuse me, it's Buckets O'Bench.
And by the way,
yeah, seriously,
is there a Jazz broadcast? Like, are they on TV?
Wait, are we talking Pac-12 or are we talking Jazz?
Well, the Pac-12 has better distribution than the Jazz do.
Great point. Man, you're just on fire today. Great point.
They should put the Jazz games on BYU TV. That'd be better carriage. We still haven't gotten a Jazz broadcasting announcement.
Brought to you by Qualtrics.
Yeah, I'm a billionaire. Thune Music says the money don't match for that deal. Well, you would make a deal of some sort to make the money match. That's the whole thing with, okay, am I going to trade for Slava Medvedenko? Come on. Never. Come on. That is a great basketball name.
So wait,
obscurity poll.
You just said, I'm sorry, wait, Slava Medvedenko?
That is a great poll that nobody's going to know who that is.
Who the hell is Slava Medvedenko?
My 5-year-old son.
Bro.
Slava Medvedenko is a great obscure.
What?
Okay,
Dude.
in the comments. Give me your favorite obscure NBA name, because one of mine.
What are you talking about, man?
Slava Medvedenko is one of my favorite, nobody flipping NBA obscure guy names. Slava Medvedenko. Suck it. Like, it is a
yes.
It is a great obscure NBA guy.
Oh,
Slava
my God,
Medvedenko. Dave Corzine back in the day. Like, think of that guy who sits at the end of the bench and you're like, all right, we're down 20. Slava Medvedenko, get your ass up here. Let's go. Like, that's that guy, right? Obscure NBA guy is the best NBA guy, right? I mean, that's truly what it is. Okay. Tanner says, also, Jeremy, in your opinion, are the Orlando Magic the Sacramento Kings of the NBA? Okay.
Wait, what?
I don't know what he means by that. Jeremy says, so does Adam Morrison and Luke Walton have more titles than the Jazz? LeBuckets carried Caruso to a ring.
LeBuckets.
Again, I just wondered, have you seen a game he's played ever? Tanner says, I know, Dwayne, boom.
Dwayne.
How will Craig Homer Bowlerjack sleep at night without saying that name? I know. Dead Collector says if the Jazz are even entertaining offers, they don't believe he is a Hall of Fame player.
I disagree.
Donovan Mitchell's not a Hall of Fame player right now.
These offers are getting to a point from the Knicks where you'd be stupid not to at least have the conversation. Like, I hope we're on the same page with that.
I agree. Let's see. Dwayne says, I can't believe I don't hear any chatter about the World Cup being pushed to November this year. Okay,
Guy.
Cool, bro. Kanai Johnson says, Jazz roster like a puzzle that started with the edges and are now moving to the middle of the board.
Seriously.
But the Jazz roster is also like a puzzle where you lost like 3 pieces and you're sitting there staring at it. And you're like, okay, there's a red line here. Let's find a piece with a red line. And you never find that piece with a red line. And it's mainly because your cat crapped it out in the box of litter that you threw out like a week ago.
Your cat crapped it out.
That's always what happens. Like it's one of those things. And my wife is a puzzle person and she almost never loses pieces to the point where I want to like steal a puzzle piece. Because my wife is also like, have you ever seen the movie The Accountant? Yeah. I have to finish. Mike, if my wife doesn't finish Heights or a puzzle, she will beat her shins with a wood rod. Like she is that kind of neurotic. I have to finish. The Accountant is one of the greatest movies.
It is.
I probably shouldn't have smoked crack before the show. Anyway, the point is...
Hey, it is what it is, man.
Yeah.